Welcome to another Tap In on Tuesdays where we use EFT tapping to help strengthen your authentic creative connection. Today we are going to be tapping on Think Outside, No Box Necessary. I remember years ago looking, I think it was a camping t-shirt that said, Think outside, no box necessary, something to that effect. I wasn't able to find it when I was looking for it again now because this was a long time ago. But the idea of you can just go outside and just be there without even having any concern of the box was something that I thought would be really fun to do some tapping on. So, taking full responsibility for your well-being and all the benefits you may gain from this tapping, just do what I do, say what I say. I love knowing I can think outside without there even being a box. I love knowing that my creativity is limitless and I am choosing to have more fun with it. We're going to jump right in. Eyebrow point. I choose to be creative. Side of the eye. I choose to think outside, under the eye, with no box necessary. Under the nose. I do not have to start with some kind of container in order to be expansive. Under the mouth. I don't need to start with limitations to be unlimited or limitless. Collarbone. I can simply be outside of the box, completely unaware of the fact that there is a box. Under the arm. I can break the rules without knowing that I'm doing so. Top of the head. I don't need to learn the rules to break them because I can just do my own thing, whether those rules exist or not. There are a lot of really creative people who have no formal training. And actually, there are some very well performing people with lots of formal training who I wouldn't really say are very creative. Just because somebody can do something like play piano and play beautiful pieces on the piano doesn't mean that they're actually using a tremendous amount of their own creativity. Some people are just really well trained and able to do something, and they stay inside the box. And that's not a criticism. That's simply acknowledging that not everybody who does something that's considered artistic is super creative. There are people who have absolutely no training whatsoever, other than learning by doing, receiving ideas and following through with their inspiration. And there are people who have some training and also tune into their inspiration. And these are extremely creative people sometimes. I like knowing that there are boxes, that we create these boxes through our beliefs and societies, and that we fit in some of them at some times, and sometimes we don't. I like knowing that I don't have to limit myself to these boxes. that I can simply be who I am, expressing myself freely, and not care about the boxes at all. Because it doesn't matter that they exist or not. And it doesn't matter how anyone else perceives me as being in or out of whichever box they're looking at. The boxes are kind of like labels that we use to identify. That can be really useful, and it can also be restricting. Restricting the flow, restricting the diversity and the expansiveness, and limiting our own self-expression if we let it. And I'm just deciding to simply think outside. No box necessary. I'm giving myself permission to simply express however feels best without any concern about what anybody else thinks or how else I might be attempted to be contained in a box or labeled. Because one person might not see me as being very creative, and another might see me as being exceptionally creative. And some people prefer to have those boxes because they feel safer, because they're looking externally for something to bring them comfort and security instead of from within, because new and different things scare them or make them uncomfortable, and because if they can't define it or label it or box it in, they don't know what to do with it. And in some cases, they simply reject it. And that's okay. I accept that there are people who will do that. And I acknowledge that I get to choose whether or not I'm one of them. Because I care about being more authentically creative and connected to myself and expressive of myself, I'm giving myself permission to simply think outside. No box necessary. Okay. It is worth thinking about some of the boxes that you might have for yourself, or what it means to be creative or an artist or expressive, what you consider acceptable and not so much, what your preferences are. All of these things can be very useful. And at the same time, it can be a good thing to be mindful of how much of this is because society trained me this way, because I was told this is this and that is that sort of definitively, and how much creativity am I limiting myself with? Like maybe you're a painter and you want to mix certain colors that you've been told you're not supposed to, or you're supposed to do it a certain way because fill in the blank of why, and you're like, but I really want to try it this other way. And how much can you just let the box go and let yourself be and let yourself express and see where that takes you? Because sometimes you will make a choice that you're like, okay, actually, that didn't work well, and I see why we generally do it this way. And other times you might make the choice and be like, well, that was way better and easier for me. Why did I not do this sooner? And, it's going to depend on each different one. But overall, giving yourself the ability and permission to simply think outside and not be concerned about the box, like just act like it doesn't even exist, and just see what comes of it can be a very freeing, very flowing experience that can get the creative juices really active and really stimulated so that you are able to then receive and be inspired by it and create something magnificent. Create something that's really a true reflection of who you are and what it is that you have to get out there. There's no reason to restrict yourself when it's coming to creativity. If you can be more authentic and more connected to yourself in your creativity, then you're being awesome for all of us and you're setting an example that's amazing. And even if nobody else sees it, you feel better. That's reason enough to do it. You're going to feel really good being authentically connected like that. So, feel free to keep tapping on this. Feel free to tap more on any specific boxes you might feel like you'd like to step out of. And, or maybe that recognizing that you've put other people in, and maybe you can loosen that up and just say, well, fine, maybe this so and so was like this then, but maybe they've changed, maybe they've grown, maybe they've had a new experience and they're not in that box anymore. Let yourself change, let them change, let those boxes just like fall apart and disappear because a lot of times they're not serving you well. And if they are serving you well, then you can tap on how wonderful this box that you're in or someone else is in is and why. Just keep tapping on what it is that you like, what it is that you want, and what it is that helps you to feel better. And that will help you with being more creative and more authentic now and in the long run. So, thank you for doing that. I will see you next week.